Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
For you just might get.
Pass poked away by Curry. Curry saves it. Great feed to Iguodala, who stuffs with a right hand.
Kevin Durant obviously had 37 points tonight. Is there anyone on this team that can stop him?
I mean, there might not be anybody in the league.
Kevin Durant, pull up three over Harden. All net for Kevin Durant. What an opener he's having in this Western Conference final.
Glad you're with us on a Tuesday morning. Golic Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And we're delighted to be joined in studio by two-time NBA All-Star Carlos Boozer, giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. And I guess the question just off the top we have to ask, Mike Golic and Carlos Boozer, it was the opener of the Western Conference Finals. Was it also the closer? Was it also the closer?
I mean, it was tough. It's tough for Rockets fans who've been going through this entire awesome season. The Rockets number one in the West and number one in the league. They get this whole team assembled to play against the Warriors, compete with the Warriors, and they drop game one. Yeah. It's not over. It's just game one. But from a psychological standpoint, there's like a heavy weight on this game.
Yeah. So I'm going to go in the locker room with you in a second. But again, it's a reason why I themed my shirt today that has Ralphie from Christmas Story with the bar of soap on his mouth after he said, "Oh, fudge." Only he didn't say fudge. He said the mother of all words. And that's because I think
plucker word.
I think that's what all the Houston Rocket fans were saying.
Yeah.
In that fourth quarter going, "Oh, fudge. What are we going to do here?" So how about for the players? You know, the coach will go over 13 turnovers. We can do this differently. We can do that differently. But man, the players in that room have to be going, "Wow, okay, our best player had a hell of a game."
Yeah.
You know, we had some other guys do okay, and we still came up short in this thing.
Yeah, it's tough psychologically because James Harden has 41, Chris Paul has 23, and I think he had like 11 rebounds.
Right.
Did a great job out there. But you still lose. You know, Kevin Durant's unguardable. You know, we've been seeing that for most of his career, but he showed it again last night. You have Steph Curry, didn't even have 20 points last night, but you still lose by 13 because Klay Thompson had 28. Other guys got involved off the bench. It's just, they have a lot going on in Golden State. They're well coached. They got great chemistry. They share the ball, and they score really easy. It just, I mean, from a fan watching, it looks stress-free. Yeah.
We'll get a lot more into that game a little bit. We got to break down that and game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, which we've decided is critical because if it's not, it's over historically. We'll get into all of that, but first we'll start what's trending with the big news coming out of the Supreme Court striking down the federal law that banned sports gambling. The court's 6-3 ruling to strike down the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, which had been in place since 1992. By the way, before that, there were a myriad of laws. This just put it under one umbrella. Paved the way for states to offer legal sports betting, and New Jersey looks to be first out of the gate, Mike.
Yeah, and it could be ready in time for the NBA Finals. It's just a couple of weeks away. And then how long will it be state to state? Will it be overseen by the government and given laws for all the states to follow? That's what the pro teams, especially the NFL, would like. At some point, Carlos, I definitely want to get in with you from the college side of this. Everybody's going to talk about the integrity of the game from the professional athlete side of it, who are all getting paid a lot of money to play sports.
Right.
But how about the college guys who can influence games, who are seeing the NCAA get billions, they're getting absolutely nothing, and now is a little light going on that's saying, hey, maybe we can influence something here, even though they could before, you know, with a lot of illegal gambling, but there's many more outlets now to it. So we haven't looked at, Trey, that side of it yet. The college side, the college player side of this thing on where the worries the NCAA may have with this.
Well, here's the official statement by the NCAA, okay? Today, or speaking of yesterday, this is when the statement came out. The United States Supreme Court issued a clear decision that the law is unconstitutional, reversing lower courts that held otherwise. While we are still reviewing the decision to understand the overall implication to college sports, we will adjust sports wagering and championship policies to align with the direction from the court. In other words, we'll do what's necessary, and the players still aren't getting a dime.
Right.
Now, that's basically what it is, and they're making even more money now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, in the pro sports, they're not making an extra dime. At least we think at this point either. Yeah, we'll see. Everybody wants to monetize this somehow.
There will be lawyers and there will be billable hours. That much we are certain with. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, the newest member of the billionaire club in the NFL is David Tepper. Steelers minority owner David Tepper is expected to sign the deal today to buy the Panthers and keep them in Carolina. That, of course, from sources from Adam Schefter and our own Seth Wickersham.
$2.5 billion on this one. That's with a B.
Surprised, by the way, right? I thought it might be more.
Thought it might be more?
Yeah.
Well, according to Mark Cuban, all the pro teams are going to double now that gambling is legal.
It'll be five.
If you could buy, you may bias to basketball, obviously, but if you could buy a franchise, what sport would you buy it in?
I'd probably buy football. Obviously, as you guys know, a huge Eagles fan.
Right.
Yeah.
To keep it in Philadelphia, but it's not going anywhere. Fans are great there.
Yeah. Tepper, by the way, the founder of the global hedge fund firm Appaloosa Management, who has a net worth of $11 billion.
$11 billion,
according to Forbes.
Yeah.
So just understand that's 11,000 million is what that
I hate looking at it that way, and I hate when you do that.
It just rattles your brain.
Yeah, it does,
man.
It's like talking space, right? Yeah. It gets to the point where
here's $1 million, and let's do it 11,000 times.
Yeah.
But that's great for Charlotte. For Charlotte fans,
it is.
Keeping it there.
City's great. The fans are great. They got a good team.
They have backed that team since the beginning.
Do we know? Is that as far as Peyton Manning? It was talking about
I think that was Ben Navarro.
Right. That's right.
That was him. So it looks like it's going to be David Tepper. Yes. The deal would then be expected to be approved at the owners' meetings on May 22nd, which is, by the way, the meeting where we'll also find out where the draft is going to be next year. It looks like it's heading towards Nashville. Well, this makes all the sense in the world that this happened on the day where sports gambling became potentially legal in every state in America. Browns head coach Hugh Jackson is paying up on his bet. He vowed he'd jump into Lake Erie if the 2017 Browns didn't improve on the 2016 Browns. They didn't improve. They actually got worse. They took the collar. They went 0 for 16. So he is going to jump into Lake Erie on June 1st.
And listen, he's going to raise money. He's making a charitable situation to raise money. Listen, I grew up on the shores of Lake Erie. I've fished many times. I've swam in Lake Erie as well. So certainly not the worst thing in the world. He's going to be okay, but it's a horrible reason he's doing it because the team went 0-16. Yeah. He's going to raise good money, which is a great thing, but I'm sure it's not something he wants to be doing again anytime soon. They'd love to get a win.
And again, the doctors, the reason he had to wait until June is he had a stent placed in his heart, and doctors told him to wait until the lake warmed up. So hopefully it's finally warm.
Yeah, hopefully.
In Cleveland by June 1st. We know it was a delayed spring here. Have you talked to your folks back at home? Was it a delayed spring in Cleveland?
It was a delayed spring everywhere.
Except for Arizona.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
So hopefully
when am I going
it'll be warm enough. Yeah, it'll be warm enough, and he'll be fine. Mm-hmm. By the way, one final note here on David Tepper. He apparently wasn't the highest bidder, according to a couple of reports, but it's 2.2 in straight cash, homie.
Straight cash?
Straight cash. Panthers 2 for 2, $2.2 billion in cash. But that much cash with no snags made this wrapped up pretty quickly. There's no debts, no debtors, anything like that. Here it is. Take my.
I mean, seriously, are you talking like a cashier's check? I mean, what do you do?
Pay to the order of.
What do you do with that?
You sign it.
You cash that right away.
Yes.
Before he changes his mind.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Would you prefer like Brinks trucks with the actual dollars to be?
I'd
built
like
to
it
your
in
house?
Change. Yeah.
I'd like it in pennies.
Yeah,
please.
Exactly.
Wow. Can you imagine going into the bank? I'd like to change these $2.2 billion in pennies for dollar bills. Please.
I'm going to have to count them. Okay.
Oh, good luck with
week.
that. All right, Golic and Wingo reminding you that the NBA Eastern Conference Finals, quite frankly, in all the playoffs throughout the finals and the NBA Finals, both Western and Eastern Conference Finals, are on ESPN Radio. Tune in tonight for Game 2 as Jason Tatum and the Celtics host LeBron and the Cavs, presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. And again, Carlos Boozer is here with us, two-time NBA All-Star, part of our Booze Cruise Tuesdays. We always like it when Carlos is in town. So let's start. Let's stick with the Western Conference and what happened last night. Mike D'Antoni said all the right things after the game, the head coach of the Rockets. Well, we didn't do this right. We didn't do that right. Turnovers. Yeah. We got to hit shots. Blah. We had some mental lapses. But at the end of the day, is there really anything they can do that's going to reverse the outcome of this series? Because when push comes to shove, your best player, James Harden, scored 41. Chris Paul played great, had 23. They're just better and deeper than you are. Yeah,
they are better and they are deeper. But for Houston, you got to get other guys involved a little bit more. Like, guys got to want to shoot the ball. They need more scoring from other positions. Like, it's hard to reinvent somebody all of a sudden in the Western Conference Finals. Like, you don't expect PJ Tucker to go out there and have 20 points in a game.
Right.
But a guy like Eric Gordon has done it before. He's come off the bench and had 30 points. Other guys, Trevor Ariza can knock down a couple of threes. We've seen Clint Capella be very effective defensively, but we may need him to get more offensive minded, more alley-oops, more rolls to the basket, more running out in transition. But the Golden State have pieces that can defend that. That's the only problem. They have every position covered. Then they come off the bench with Sean Livingston and other guys as well that can also defend. So it's very tough to score against them, and it's very tough to stop them from scoring.
So along those lines of like Eric Gordon, he was 6 of 13 last night, did have 15 points, so he shot relatively well, but maybe he'll have a 30-point game. But we're talking about consistently they need to win 4 games in this series. So what, other than hoping those guys can hit more shots, what X's and O's wise do you see can they try differently in game 2, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, right away, the first thing you think of is defense. You got to do a better job of stopping them, but how do you do that? How do you stop them from knocking down open shots? How do you stop Kevin Durant from shooting over, Chris Paul, who's guarding him? He's giving up 8 inches. He's giving up inches to anybody because he's so tall and with his length. I think at the end of the day, you got to slow down other guys. Like, I don't know there's nobody on that team that you can actually double because everybody can shoot. They even come off the bench with Swaggy P, and he had a good game last night.
He did, right. Hitting things left and right.
So it's very tough to figure out what the actual thing is to do to stop them. But if we figure it out, give us a job.
Let us know.
Let us know.
But from a mental standpoint, as Carlos Boozer is here with us in studio, is this the equivalent of what the Cavs did to the Raptors in Game 1, where they were the number 1 seed?
Yeah.
They said it was going to be different this year, and they went up there and just took the first 2 games, especially the first game. Like, no, it's really the same thing. Right. Daryl Morey, the GM of the Rockets, has said all year, we are obsessed with finding ways. They went 82 games to make sure if there's a Game 7, it's going to be on our floor. And in the first game, the Warriors we're taking that right back.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a Game 7. I do think even if the Houston Rockets somehow win Game 2, they're going back to Golden State, and you know how explosive this team is down there in the Bay Area. The fans are going to be crazy. They're going to be hitting shots from all over the place. Mind you, Steph Curry didn't even have an explosive game, and you know that's coming because he does it every series against every team. So I just I'm not saying that Houston's out. I just think they need to win badly in Game 2.
So if this goes as everybody expects, not only in the Western Conference Final, but, I mean, Boston or Cleveland, you don't see either one of them beating Golden State either. No. So if they roll through again, does this change the offseason at all that we're looking forward to, or is it still, are teams looking to, in the now, put a team together to beat Golden State, or do you look more to the future to try and do that?
That's a great question. The crazy thing about it is they won 73 games, then they went out and signed Kevin Durant. And I think somebody told me a stat last night where they're 20-3 or so. He's only lost 3 games in the playoffs with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, they've never lost 4 games with Durant there.
Yeah.
And so now you expect them to lose 4 in a series?
Yeah, so for me, they're going to be good for a long time. It's like they can keep the whole team together, financially.
Right.
So other teams looking to try to beat them, you got to go out and get like LeBron and Kawhi and Paul George on one team or something, which could happen. But, at the end of the day, you got to put together a super team that can defend those guys, that can score against those guys. And I just don't know if anybody's going to be able to do it.
Our Golic and Wingo presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Life's special event calls for a beautiful bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen Gabura daisies starting at $29.99, you'll also get a free vase. For details, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. So should we be sending flowers to the Cavs from 1-800-Flowers.com? Because if they lose tonight, history says it's over. First of all, the Celtics have not lost a home game this postseason, and when they go up 2-0 in a 7-game series, they are 37-0. So is tonight essentially the Eastern Conference Finals one way or the other?
I don't think so. Not with LeBron James. I mean, we've seen him down 3-1 in the finals, come back and win the championship.
Two Golden State.
We've seen him even in the last series when they were down 1-0 in Indiana, they came back and won that in 7. They're just when you got LeBron James, you got a chance. So even if they did drop the game tonight, which I think they're going to win the game. I think LeBron has an incredible game. Probably goes back to what he's been doing all postseason long and putting up 35, 40 points in a game and helping his team win. But you still got to go back to Cleveland. So even if they drop 2 in Boston, you win 2 in Cleveland, it's 0-0 again, essentially. So I don't see them losing tonight, but I do think that Boston's been playing incredible. Give those guys credit, give Brad Stevens credit. And who knows? I mean, they may end up coming out the East.
Following a loss, and they were all the Pacers because they swept Toronto, LeBron James is averaging 41 points a game, shooting 63%. So
we're taking the over. What was our number?
We 35.
35.
We all expect him to have a monster game, but what else has to happen? What the talk is to possibly start a Tristan Thompson. Would you do something like that to match up with Horford?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have started him in game 1 personally. I thought he did a great job in the postseason when he's getting minutes. I think he's one of those guys that is one of the few guys on their team that's a rim protector that can protect the paint. I also think that if LeBron's being super aggressive, which we all know he will be tonight, attacking the basket, put more pressure on the defense, it helps him out a lot when his shooters hit shots. missing all those threes in game one didn't help this team at all. Didn't help LeBron at all. You got to knock down your shots when you're open because they got a lot of open shots. They just missed them. So if they make them tonight, that votes in their favor, obviously.
So is it Kevin Love or J.R. Smith, do you think, that needs to be hitting those perimeters to open up the interior so guys like LeBron and Love can get inside and maybe do some work?
All those guys. I mean, Kyle Korver gets open shots. Kevin Love's going to get open shots. He actually had a pretty decent game. Needed to be more aggressive, too. J.R. Smith's going to get open shots. All those guys will get open shots because LeBron's going to attack the basket.
Right.
He's going to come out the gate wearing – remember game 2 against Indiana. He went off like the first, 11, 12, 13 points of the game.
I think he had the first 16 or something.
Something like that. It was incredible. We may see the same thing tonight against Boston. Now, Boston's a much better defensive team. I was telling Golic earlier, they do a great job covering the basket as far as position defense. They don't have any really real shot blockers, rim protectors.
Right.
Horford does a pretty good job of it, but what they do is they do team defense. They're in the right position. So LeBron beats you one-on-one, there's another guy there in the Celtic jersey. He has to kick out. So guys are going to get open shots. But LeBron's going to be aggressive.
Looking to the future, because I want to talk a little bit of gambling with you as well.
Okay.
With Boston, they have no Gordon Hayward, no Kyrie Irving. So is it too simple to say, wow, when they get them next year, add them to this team, how much better they're going to be? Or, as some say, will it mess with the chemistry and or rotation of that team? Or should we expect unbelievably great things from them?
I'm excited about it, to be honest. Like, if I'm Kyrie Irving, I'm like, wow, Rozier can really hoop. Tatum is not a rookie anymore. Brown has played incredible. We still got Horford. We bring me and Hayward back. Like they're built for the future. They got a team that could. I mean, they might be coming out the East the next couple of years. Obviously everybody's excited about Philadelphia too, but they have a closer in Kyrie if he's healthy. They got Hayward, who hasn't seen it. Who's going to be very fresh.
Yeah,
very fresh to come next season. And these two young wings, Brown and Tatum, have stepped up in a major way. And then if Kyrie is banged up, Rozier's played terrific in his absence. We've learned a lot about this team. On top of that, Brad Stevens. I still can't believe he didn't get one vote.
Not a single vote.
I still can't believe he didn't get one vote. He's a great coach. So, in my opinion, if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm very excited for our future.
Yeah. Carlos Boozer with us in studio, two-time NBA All-Star. And then I want to get your reaction to the news, the big news that we'll be talking about forever, trying to figure this thing out. The sports books are now, the floodgates are open everywhere. As a player, because the NBA their stated goal is said, hey, we want 1%.
Right.
First of all, good luck with that. We'll see how the legal bargaining and parsing of this goes forward. But as an NBA player, first of all, your reaction to that news, and secondly, how are you thinking as a player? How can I monetize what is being monetized off me?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I've never been a bettor in sports. I never bet on sports in my life, but there's so much money involved. And it seems like the government wants to get involved. Other people want to get involved.
The government's getting involved.
100%.
They're getting theirs.
Yeah, they're going to get theirs. And I understand why the 1% adds up to a lot. So the fans out there don't understand. That adds up to billions of dollars, obviously. So at the end of the day, it's a money thing. I am concerned about what he said about the collegiate athletes who don't get paid a dime.
Right.
They're selling jerseys. They're selling different things off of their backs. At the end of the day, there's a lot of money out there being made off sports, a lot of money being made off college athletes as well. There's bookies involved. There's guys trying to get out there. And you guys seen this in the past. I think it was like UNLV and other programs got caught up where guys were throwing games in college to make money on the side. I worry about that more than anything else.
Yeah, and as people will correctly say, well, they can do that now because there is some legal gambling, there's offshore gambling, and there's $50 to $150 billion of illegal gambling, so you can do it now. But I guess the point is, if it's legal everywhere, there's more opportunity for some of these players. And really, I would think maybe multiple players getting together and saying, you know what, we can kind of control some of this, especially if you start letting prop bets in of first down or first completion or first strike or first things like that, where the players can really control it. To guys who, pro sport's one thing, when the average, in the NBA is tons of millions.
Yeah.
These other kids are like, wait a minute, I got nothing. And we can influence it. We don't have to throw a game. We can still try and win, but we can make a little bit of money.
See, that's the problem that's disheartening to me. I'm a huge college sports fan, as you guys are too.
Yeah.
So imagine a couple guys who may not go pro.
Right.
They get called by somebody on the phone, hey, I'm going to put $50,000 in your bag, just do this for me. I'm going to put $50,000 in your dorm room, do this for me. That bothers me because I'm raising kids that aspire to be athletes in college. I know other kids that are about to go to college that are good friends of mine as well. I don't want them to be, traumatized by this action by the legislature to legalize gambling. But I feel like it's gonna trickle down to college sports.
And again, we know you can do it now, but there's will be way more opportunity for it.
Well, to that point, this just came across my Twitter timeline, which is very interesting. What was the darling of the tournament? The NCAA tournament, Loyola Chicago.
Chicago.
Right. Okay. Web traffic visitors up 91%. Social media engagement up 1,676%. Wow. Social media followers up 34%. Requests from prospective students up 31%. Wow. Athletic donations up 660%.
Wow.
And you know who's not seeing a dime of that?
The players.
The players on the court that made it happen. And that's the real issue that the NCAA's got to figure out more than anything else. Boozer, you're good. 35th pick in the draft, second round. Any advice to those guys that don't get picked in the first couple of picks?
Just keep going, man. At the end of the day, you're going to get your shot. When you get your shot, make the most of it.
You, too, can have a beard like Carlos Boozer,
you go.
even if you're not drafted in the first round.
Sharp-dressed is that?
Yeah, get out of here and go to Sports Center.
Thanks, guys.
All right, coming up, how will the Supreme Court ruling affect the books in Vegas? Because that's going to be interesting because they had been getting it all, and now they may not be anymore. We'll ask the opinions of a former oddsmaker next.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And, of course, you heard that rejoined sounder there. Oh, the leagues tend to siphon off their share of the money. Well, again, good luck with that. We'll see if that actually happens. I know that's the plan, but as our old friend Herm Edwards says, sometimes a plan that can't be changed is a bad plan. And we'll see if anybody who sets up these sports books is willing to give a little bit to the leagues in question, because this much I know. You know why those hotels and casinos in Vegas are so big and shiny and awesome? Because they keep the money.
And they're right.
Yeah, they're right, and they keep the money. But what does the idea of now every state being allowed to gamble on sports do to the casinos in Vegas? Well, for that, we're delighted to be joined on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line by Todd Fuhrman, a former odds maker at Caesars Palace and host of the Bet the Board podcast. So, Todd, the first question I had for you when we found out you were going to be on the show is, what are people in Vegas thinking specifically about the fact that they are no longer going to be the only place where you can bet on sports?
It's definitely been an interesting discussion, guys, trying to figure out how the lack of a monopoly on sports betting is going to change the landscape out here. But as you allude to, the proposed integrity taxes from the league and different tax structures in various states, if they can't offer the same competitive product that Nevada has for years, with single game wagering and traditional $1.10 juice, putting up your $1.10 to make a dollar, they're not that worried that other states are going to be able to siphon off a lot of that cash. And I made this point yesterday to folks on the East Coast. If it's the middle of March and you're looking for a place to go for 96 hours during the NCAA tournament, I don't think a lot of folks are choosing Atlantic City over Las Vegas, given the women and the weather that we have out here.
How about from the league standpoint, what we mentioned, them wanting something off the top? What, if any, leverage do they have to actually accomplish that feat?
I'm not going to fault the leagues for trying to get a piece of the pie. We know that's always been their MO in a lot of these discussions, but in my opinion, and for a lot of the folks I've spoken to, they really have no leverage unless the states want to try and get involved, because casinos out here in Nevada haven't paid a royalty back to any of these leagues in the past. They haven't looked to go, hey, we have to appease the various organizations. And the NHL is the perfect example. The NHL set up shop here with the expansion Golden Knights. They didn't get a piece of any of the wagering that's taken place on the local team. And we've seen hockey betting go up 100% year over year with a team in our own market.
Todd Fuhrman with us on the Bet the Board podcast, former odds maker at Caesars. Okay, so let's say, obviously New Jersey is all in on this. They hope to get going by the NBA Finals, but Delaware, Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island have also already sort of set things up in place. Take us through what actually has to happen and how this thing has to come together if they want to be in part of this process.
New Jersey is fast-tracked, and some of the operators there have said they have plans to take bets at Monmouth Park as early as the NBA Finals, which would be before the end of this month. Now, other states aren't quite in that same advantageous position. The Mississippis of the world have said, our goal is to kind of be up in full bore by the time football season gets here. You mentioned a laundry list of the other states that are there. We can throw Pennsylvania into the mix. Most of these states have to figure out what their tax structures are going to look like. Pennsylvania, for example, they're talking about a 35 to 40% tax bracket, which is going to make things extremely difficult for operators to bring a competitive product to market. And then the other big question, will it just be the ability to go into these casinos and make those wagers over the counter like old school Las Vegas and Nevada, or will you have the proliferation of mobile apps? I think for any state to be successful in a newly legalized market, you're going to have a mobile component built in. Otherwise, you're going to set up very interesting scenarios where people are going into the casinos and they're leaving just as quickly as they got there, and that's not going to be good for any of the operators either.
Todd Fuhrman joining us, former oddsmaker at Caesars Palace, host of the Bet the Board podcast. How about from the athlete standpoint? Now, it's already been there for whether it's illegal betting or offshore betting, whatever, that they could be compromised in situations. But now this could be on a much grander scale if it's legal. How worried are you about the integrity of the player, especially the college player that doesn't make money?
It's definitely a discussion being had. Legalized wagering has traditionally been the best way to try and eliminate some of the impropriety and match-fixing scandals that have been out there, at least at the professional levels. Now, when we look at the collegiate ranks, that's a much different story because we have seen a point-shaving scandal years ago at Arizona State, but it was the legal markets here in Nevada that ultimately became the whistleblowers that something was going awry with the Sun Devils. You look at the smaller pockets, the Brian Johnson situation at San Diego, Scooter McDougal at Toledo, and the reality of it is, legal or not, those kind of scenarios are going to play out either in the public eye or in the back alleys, because if it takes one rogue individual, it's not going to be a legalized market or a market where sports betting is frowned upon that's going to be able to stop that. It's the unfortunate reality of the world we live in. But you mentioned the players, and especially at the professional level, I think that's the reason you've seen the players' associations issue statements. They know that if the leagues are going to try and collect this integrity tax, and they're not going to be privy to some of that under the collective bargaining agreements, they're going to do everything they can to try and fight this and make sure their players are properly protected.
Todd Fuhrman with us, former oddsmaker at Caesars Palace, host of the Bet the Board podcast. I'm glad you brought that up because obviously sports gambling has been legal in Europe and many other places for a long, long time, and it actually was by checking some weird betting trends on some lower circuit tennis matches that actually brought out the match fixing scandal in tennis a couple of years ago. So in an odd, weird way, what all these leagues fear about the gambling and the integrity of the game is actually going to be sniffed out and discovered by the principles that may now be in place. So while they don't want to sort of have that come out there publicly for a lot of reasons I understand, it will be one of the things that roots out some of the problems they're actually concerned about.
Exactly. It creates a symbiotic relationship where the leagues and operators become, bedfellows, because there's two entities that stand to lose the most if there's impropriety or match fixing. It's the casino operators, or however these different outlets are set up state by state, where people are coming in, betting into predetermined outcomes in these sporting events, putting them at a disadvantage, or the leagues who worry that the integrity of their games are going to somehow be compromised. We look across the pond to the English Premier League and see the relationships built between sports books and a lot of the biggest clubs in the world. They're constantly in communication with one another, looking for those irregular betting patterns, trying to root them out before things become paramount and create a much bigger scandal and a runaway freight train on the tracks that they're unable to stop.
Going back to the sports, the teams trying to get a piece of this action, do you believe they're able to, and if they are, this would have an effect, hold back injury news from odds makers out there?
I really don't believe that the teams are going to have a whole lot of leverage unless individual state governments allow them to. Like we said, we look at Nevada right now. They're not paying anything to any of the leagues, and the business model they have in place here is very tenable. It's about a 7% tax rate, and it allows the operators to offer a competitive product. You mentioned injury news, and that's one of the big reasons that I think for some people that have suggested you're going to have state or by state league-run sports books, then it becomes a real conflict of interest because there's no greater scenario than on a Sunday morning if they're holding back some of these NFL injury reports and they're taking as much action on one side of a game as they possibly can. And oh, by the way, a major injury breaks right before the game to Tom Brady or someone capable of moving a line 4 to 7 points. Then it gives the teams a competitive advantage in terms of that ancillary revenue stream.
Well, that's an interesting one, and using Tom Brady's name is really significant, Todd, because he did have that cut on his hand before the AFC Championship game, and he played fine, obviously, with it, but we saw the cut afterwards. It was pretty deep. How much did an injury like that actually move the line in Vegas?
That injury didn't move the number a ton. You actually had the Jaguars open right around a 9.5-point underdog. There was some money that came in early in the week on Jacksonville from professional bettors, taking it down to that 7.5 range. Did get down to a touchdown before it ultimately settled in right around a touchdown. Now, if Tom Brady had been ruled out, you'd be talking about that number, knowing New England didn't have a true backup quarterback in the form of Jimmy Garoppolo, with that price coming down much closer to a field goal. So it's one of those things, and it's been that great cat and mouse game that's taken place in Nevada for years. Who gets the injury information first? Who's able to use it? And more importantly, profit off of it.
Todd, we're talking about 50 to 150 billion a year in illegal gambling. If within 5 years, some reports say 32 states may have gambling, can you fathom or try and put a number to where the gambling numbers, legal gambling numbers may be?
I think you're going to see a massive boost, and part of that is going to come from the existing customer base looking to take advantage of the multitude of wagering options they're going to have at their disposal, largely driven by in-game wagering that we've seen here in Nevada. You've seen people bet a lot more money than they ever had before because they have the ability to do so. Now, the one thing that does concern me is people automatically assuming that all of the money being wagered illegally, whether it's offshore with the corner bookmakers, is somehow going to find itself into the legal market. We do have to temper a few of those expectations because we know in this fine country, a lot of people like to buy things now and pay for them later on credit. That's one luxury that the corner bookmakers still be able to afford players that casinos and other operators won't be able to do.
Well, look, it is a brave new world we're entering, and we're all trying to figure it out. There's a million hot takes out there. We're just trying to figure out what may actually happen, and we appreciate you shedding some light on that. Todd Fuhrman, former oddsmaker at Caesars Palace, host of the Bet the Board podcast. Todd, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
I mean, really, there's a million ways this
A million
can go.
ways. I mean, one place we haven't even mentioned was those prop bets.
Yeah.
And how that could be player influence. First pitch a ball or a strike.
Right.
First completion out there. First basket made. I mean, where players can really.
First free throw made or missed.
Really influence it. Then people are bringing up, should this now mean Pete Rose is in the Hall of Fame?
That's a whole different discussion.
It's a completely different discussion because you're still, if you're a professional athlete, you're not going to be allowed to gamble.
Right. And those are a different set of circumstances that were in place then. And, you know, I don't know how many major league locker rooms you've walked into, but every one of them had on the board.
Well,
this is what you
do.
can and can't do.
They have it as well. And when I say
simple.
Pro athletes aren't going to be allowed to gamble, they're not going to be allowed to gamble on their sport.
Correct.
You can legalize it throughout the country, and if you're in the NFL, you are not going to be an NFL player. You're not going to be allowed to bet on an NFL game.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen.
And the interesting thing, the NFL is the one that is pushing back the hardest against this, even though they're the league that probably benefits the most from legal and illegal gambling. And there's something that happened in the NFL years ago that actually led to what is now known as the standard injury report, and it's there because of gambling.
It's a normal day. You're rushing out the door to get to work on time when suddenly, there it is, the dreaded service light. So what is it this time? Tire pressure? Low coolant? Time for an oil change? When it comes to service lights, head to Jiffy Lube. We've got you covered. Drive in today and make the switch to Pennzoil. Ask for Pennzoil Synthetics, getting you back on the road in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube. Leave worry behind.
I want me, you, and Golic to play golf one day.
Yes.
I just want me and Golic in my golf cart with the music blaring, drinking beers. I want to see how Wingo handles that.
Done.
Mike.
Listen, I play with the speaker on the cart, so we're good. Hashtag bonding show meeting. We'll get the company to pay for it.
Like that.
Piece of cake.
Trey, I am so proud of you. You're expensing the trip.
It's a leadership conference for us.
To God's destroying you. Thanks, guys.
Oh, and what that has materialized into, you're going to find out in just a few short seconds.
Unbelievable.
SportsCenter brought to you by AutoZone. When your check engine light comes on, the AutoZone free fix finder tool keeps your car in the game. Whether it's something simple or serious, it'll troubleshoot the problem right on the spot for free. Just stop by. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
So as we continue on Golic and Wingo here, that was a conversation we had with Stugotz a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, I think at this point, when he makes his regular Thursday visit. And we were all just sort of joking around that, hey, you know what? We should all get together and play golf somewhere.
Yep.
And he said, I want to play golf with you and I'd drink beer and see if it affects you with the music. I said, no. I have the sound check speaker in there.
You
the cart.
Saw it.
So we blare the music all the time. And I said, we'll get together and we'll make the company pay for it.
Yes, we will.
Sort of thing. And ladies and gentlemen, from that conversation hath been born Golic and Wingo Leadership Retreat. Some things are just too crazy to make up. The truth is stranger than fiction.
Almost feels too good to be true.
So explain exactly what's happening.
Well, basically what it's called is we have the Golic and Wingo Offsite All-Hands Town Hall Leadership Retreat Strategy Session Golf Tournament. And God love Pinehurst for jumping in on this.
They heard
kidding
about
me?
This when we had that conversation with Stu Gatz, and they said, bring it here.
They have been unbelievable. So we got a group. We're not only going to do our show down there. This is going to, again, be June 21st, 22nd, 23rd, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The 22nd, we're going to do our show there with our Golic and Wingo bus.
Yes.
And we're also going to golf. And you, multiple yous, get to golf with us. And you get one entry between now and Friday, May 25th. And your entry has to be on our Twitter page, at Golic and Wingo. So you need to follow us, at Golic and Wingo. And you hashtag Golf with GW Contest. You get one entry. You can just tweet something in text form. Yeah. You can do a photo. You can do a video. We'll be getting all those three types of things. You only get one shot at it. Make it good. And you get till Friday, May 25th. And then we're going to choose 4 winners. And not only are you just individually a winner, but you each get to pick 2 friends to come with you.
So you're going to be a hero to 2 of your friends and a jerk to the rest of your friends.
That's exactly right.
Exactly how this
breaks
down.
So each of you is a threesome, and then with one of those, Trey will play, I will play, Junior will play, and Stu Gatz will play.
Right.
Because we're marrying this with the Levitard show.
If there's time, we may. Stu Gatz
unless Stu Gatz screws this up. Yeah. But gang, it's 3-day. 2-night trip to Pinehurst Resort in Pinehurst, North Carolina, round-trip airfare, you and your 2 guests, premium accommodations at Pinehurst Resort, including hotels and meals, swag bags. We're doing the show there. Yep. Then you're going to golf with us, not only on this cool, the Cradle, which is a 9-hole short course, but we're playing Pinehurst number 2. Yeah. Trey, tell them about Pinehurst number 2.
Pinehurst number 2 is arguably one of the greatest courses in the United States. It's a Donald Ross design. They've held U.S. Opens there. They don't have rough. They have what's called natural vegetation. So if you miss the fairway, you go into what's called, air quotes, the stuff. But the greens are what are really interesting. They're like upside-down teacups.
Hey, let's reel it in. We'll put a pin in that. Circle back. Let's talk a little bit about the obstacle course. Team building.
Yeah, well, the obstacle course will be the greens.
Oh, I think that's what we're talking about.
Very difficult. The greens are very difficult to hold the ball. Yes.
There are 3 people teamed with us.
We're all teamed together to
build
try
as a team
and try and stop the obstacle course, which is the greens.
Fits perfectly.
I don't know why he keeps coming back to this.
I don't understand.
But we'll do some sort of trust fall or have a conference and come up with a catchphrase,
ropes course,
mission
or something
statement.
Like that. We'll have a mission statement.
We'll get a mission statement.
Yeah,
we'll get
one of those
to satisfy those requirements.
But again, 4 winners, 1 tweet you get at Golic and Wingo, hashtag at Golf with GW Contest between now and Friday, May 25th. 4 winners, each bring 2 people and golf with me, Trey Jr., and Stu Gatz at Pinehurst. Are you kidding me? It's going to be fantastic. Again, the dates, June 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So it is coming up soon.
Again, so we'll have all that for you, and just get those things in. You have to get them in before May 25th to get 1 shot. Okay. Real quickly.
Dancing
with the Stars. You're all in on
saw it last night again. It's the 4-week just athletes.
Yep.
Who did I say were going to be in the finals?
You said Josh Norman.
Adam Rapon.
Yep.
And the other is Tanya Harding. She actually looked pretty good last couple of weeks. Those are the 3 in the finals. Rapon, Josh Norman, Tanya Harding. Definitely between Norman and Rapon. Those are the 2 in a class by themselves.
I know we're running out of time. What happened to the female figure skater that wanted to be on Dancing with the Stars?
She got ousted last night.
You know what?
Along with Jenny Finch and Chris Mazur, the loser.
A little karma there.
Yeah,
because, I was more concerned about Dancing with the Stars than doing my best.
Definitely between Rapon, who's fantastic, and Josh Norman is excellent, just like a whole string of other football players that have been involved in that.
You need fluid hips to play
you
corner,
do.
and the fluid hips are working for Josh
in
Norman.
The hips.
Coming up, we'll go live to Houston, where the Western Conference Finals may have ended as soon as they started.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Draymond gets a tech right off the bat, and I said, good. Right. I want to see more of it. Let's get it on.
It's not enough just to say they're talented. They are special.
Durant would seem to be the key, and the Rockets simply had no answer for him tonight.
KD, he's tough. I mean, obviously, he was on tonight. I don't know what you do to guard him. He can get any shot he wants.
Durant free throw line, spins, shoots, and knocks it down. He is locked in here in Game 1 of the Western Finals.
Glad you're with us. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance on a Tuesday morning. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We got Michael Wilbon coming up in just a little bit, plus Brent Musberger. You are looking live at a whole new world of gambling and sports.
You won't have to try to just sneak in like little betting references at the end of games. You can go ahead and be right out open with them now.
Brent was great at that. Al Michaels did that every once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
He used to say that kick means a lot to a certain people, if you know what I mean.
Now you can be nice and open about it.
You can talk about it a little more. And who better to talk to about all this than Brent? With everything that he's done, and now he's doing his show out in Vegas, so we'll get him on coming up in just a little bit. We're excited about that. But there was something that caught a lot of people's attention that the Patriots are now doing. They're hiring a martial arts expert to help defensive linemen, I think on some level offensive linemen as well, with their ability to use the hands. And this caught people's attention like, oh, this is new.
No,
but you and I both know this has been going on forever.
Been around for a while now. Guys have done it individually, and they have been in practice facilities, or players have worked on it before. Yeah, this is nothing new at all. And you know how it helps. Each individual is different about it, but it's a game of hand fighting.
Yep.
With less and less contact with the head that people want in the league. There could be more. You watch a guy like Aaron Donald, hand fighting.
With knives.
And it's all about, hand fighting. It's all about counters, and it's all about, listen, an offensive lineman wants to get his hands on you in a certain way, and as a defensive lineman, you don't want that to happen. And so when you want to knock it down and when they try and readjust, you want to take care of that as well. So I get it. I understand it. But this is nothing, not even close to being new.
Chris Dolman, the Vikings Hall of Fame defensive lineman, was the first guy I remember actively doing it.
And again,
in the
it's
90s.
not the Patriots saying this is new.
No,
they're not the ones.
People are reacting as if they've never heard it before.
Like it's new. Right.
And I think the Niners actually had some work in this as well.
Yeah.
So it's been around for a while. But what we didn't know is that we have a former defensive lineman on our show,
yes, we do,
and a former martial artist star on our show. Devin, the Bubble Boy, apparently also is a huge karate expert. And I believe we have video evidence if you're watching on ESPN News right now.
Oh, we will get that out on Golic and Wingo.
Yeah.
He's like flying through the air,
breaking a board.
Breaking like probably balsa wood, I would imagine.
He's way up there. Of course, that was like 3 years ago when he was 4. Devin, you want to tell us a little bit more about that picture?
Look at the form, first of all. Perfect form.
That was like a year ago, right?
No, it was a long time ago. I worked my way up to a black belt, though.
You did?
Did you really?
Absolutely.
We need to get Devin in here and break a board. We need to make that happen.
That
with his
like,
forehead,
it
yes.
did. It looked like balsa wood, though. Seriously.
They may help me out a little.
Soapbox Derby car would?
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Wow, that's impressive. Now, Mike and Jake took karate as well.
My son and daughter did it as well.
Yeah, they did. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody takes it as a kid.
So there you go. Congratulations, you. Congratulations,
hey, thank you.
That was a nice picture, though. Quite honestly,
I mean, he was way up in the air.
I think I'm gonna need proof that it was actually him.
I think we're gonna have to have him come in one day this week and break wood.
There you go.
It's gonna have to happen. Just so you know. So get ready, be prepared, because we're not gonna let that slide. It's just, that's me.
Yeah,
we're gonna need some proof.
We need some oak.
Yeah, you get some sturdy timber like mahogany.
Yeah,
stuff that doesn't bend. Let's find the thickest wood out. Riley, research the hardest, densest wood
there is.
Gopher wood, whatever it is.
Let's get gopher wood.
Apparently, that's one of the more dense things.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Never heard of gopher wood.
Gopher wood. Oh, right. Gopher. So we'll figure that out, but let's get to what's trending. Well, I would like to be trending in this way because this man is about to write a check for $2.2 billion
I don't even know what to say.
In cash. Steelers minority owner David Tepper is no longer going to be the Steelers' minority owner. He is going to be the majority owner of the Carolina Panthers and keep them in Carolina. That pro league source, according to both Seth Wickersham and Adam Schefter. The deal expected to be approved at the owners' meetings in Atlanta on May 22nd. But, Mike, what's interesting here, he's the owner of a hedge fund that's worth over $11 billion.
Right.
He's paying for this in cash. No bank loans, no nothing. He's writing a check.
I mean, I imagine it'll be a cashier's check. I doubt he's actually writing a check.
$1, $2, $3,
I mean,
$4.
he's buying an NFL team for cash. He's really doing that.
Yeah, cash.
I mean, that's amazing.
Cash.
And because he wasn't the highest bidder.
No, he wasn't the highest bidder.
Not the highest bidder.
According to reports,
he is going to keep the team in Charlotte, and many are happy about that.
Yeah, well, look, the fan base there has been great.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've been awesome.
Yes.
They have a great stadium set up there right downtown. If you haven't been to a game in Charlotte, it's really cool.
Really is. Completely agree.
But just, you know what? Here, you guys can do this finagling and financing. How about I just give you this?
Because you're going to do that. What are your payments going to be? Payments.
Yeah.
I scoff at payments.
Yeah, payments. I don't need no stinking payments.
One payment.
All right, so congratulations to him. We'll see how quickly that comes to fruition on May 22nd. Draft lotteries tonight at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. The Suns have the best lottery odds at 25%, and the team with the best chance has won the top pick each of the last 3 years.
Yes, they have. It goes the Suns first, then the Grizzlies, Mavericks, Hawks, and Magic. The Cavaliers, by the way, with that Brooklyn pick, have a just under 10% chance of landing in the top 3. Could you imagine that? And then the rest of that percentage, about 90%, they could be 8, 9, 10, or 11. The Lakers, by the way, their lottery pick is going to go to either the 76ers or the Celtics as a result of the Steve Nash trade back in 2012 coming back on you.
Absolutely. And, of course, we got lots to talk to about the NBA Eastern and Western Conference Finals, and we're delighted to be joined now on the phone by the star of PTI, Northwestern graduate, just as much as you're a Notre Dame graduate. He likes to mention that as well. Former Washington Post columnist and an all-around darn good guy. Michael Wilbon joins us. Michael, good morning. You're in Houston, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so the Western Conference Finals started last night. Did they end as well?
It seems to be the feeling. I mean, yesterday just being here in Houston, walking around town, shooting around, all the places where you sort of try to take the temperature of the place, there was this feeling that we got this great team. They've been built to beat the Warriors. They've got everything going for them. We're healthy, MVP and elect and James Harden. And, oh, by the way, if we don't win, we have to win game one. And I think just coming out on the other side of it and spending some time with players on both teams last night, while the Rockets certainly don't think it's over, they think they have to make big adjustments, blah, blah, blah. The feeling of, I think, neutral observers, and I'm talking about former players, current players, unaffiliated with the series, it's pretty much over. Like, what are the adjustments that the Rockets can make and would make that are going to make a 12-point difference after a home game loss with Harden scoring 41 and Chris Paul getting 23 and 11?
Man,
what is it that they can do to sort of turn this around? I don't like to pronounce series over after game one. The biggest adjustment to any series in all team sports come after game one. But, man, it doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't. You can sit there and hope some of the other guys shoot well, but they'd have to do that 4 times in a 7-game series, or now 4 times in 6 games that are left out of this, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. So based off that, let me go big picture before we go back to small picture. Based off what Golden State is doing, and I don't think many would be shocked if they ran through the finals as well. Does this make guys want to make one other super team this next offseason, or is it like, you know what, we're just all going to have to wait a couple of years until this Golden State team isn't what they are right now?
That's a great question, Mike. Well, the thing I give Daryl Morey and the Rockets credit for is not saying that. I give them credit for saying, we're going to put together something, we're going to go after them. And basically announcing it, living up to it, owning it, even though, you can get the situation of be careful what you ask for, which is what, the Warriors were really tuned in and tuned up last night, being aware of that storyline that the Rockets acknowledged publicly they're coming after them. I really admire that about the Rockets, and I don't think it's going to result in any sort of upset in this series. But I would think other teams can do that. I know that in the other conference, certainly the Celtics and the Sixers are a step away from them. They're not buying into that notion that they have to sit around waiting for the Warriors. And things are not in sports as they were generations. Every generation, you look at some super team out there built differently than these teams are now, and you'd still say, okay, this team's going to have a run of, 6-7 years. That's not the case anymore. With free agency and injuries and all kinds of things that happen, teams can disintegrate. I don't think that will happen to the Warriors. Other things happen, but you got to be ready to beat them. And clearly the Celtics and the Sixers are two of those teams. And so I'm interested to see, in answering that question over the summer, because we're going to see it soon with free agency and the draft.
Right.
Who thinks they're ready? Who's ready to step up and pronounce this, even though they might get beat?
Well, that's the interesting thing, because the NBA offseason sometimes is more fun than the regular season with the moves that go on, as Michael Wilbon from PTI is with us. Look, you spoke with Kevin Durant after the game. He went nuts, 37 points. He was the big gun in game one. But I'm wondering, what was a more demoralizing Game 1 loss in your estimation? Was it what the Raptors went through when the Cavs went up there? It was supposed to be a whole new year, and they just said, no, we're still the Cavs and you're still the Raptors. Or was it what happened last night when, as you alluded to, Daryl Morey said, we're obsessed with beating this team. We went through 82 games to make sure if there's a Game 7, it's going to be on our home court. And now it seems like the idea of a Game 7 is really far-fetched.
Yeah, that the Toronto game was more demoralizing. The Toronto game, one loss, because the Raptors led that game. They were in control of that game. They missed their final 11 shots in regulation, and I think 16 of 18 through overtime to lose Game 1. And to me, that was a pronouncement. That series was over that night. I don't think this one's over. I don't think Houston can beat the Warriors, and I don't think the people involved in assessing playoff basketball believe that at all. But I would hope that the Rockets are not literally afraid of the opposition. Toronto was. They were spooked.
Right.
And so now that still will be answered. Just being bold is not enough. What is it they can do? But that loss, you just knew the series was done, and it was. And the other thing is the Warriors tend to get a little loosey-goosey. They hear the sweet Georgia Brown music, and they don't step on your neck like LeBron can if he knows he has control, and does if he has control of the series. So I'm going to stop short of demoralizing that loss last night. It was certainly disappointing, and I think it was instructive. But today is the most important day, by the way. I mean, the Rockets have to wake up today and be angry and resolute and creative. And, Mike D'Antoni has a reputation in his peer group of being a fairly stubborn guy. I mean, we saw that in Phoenix a lot of ways, in terms of, like, one of the ways, shortening his bench and not going. He's not doing that anymore, and he's evolved, and defensively he's different, and he's got assistant coaches like Jeff Bezdelek who can coordinate that end of it and make adjustments. But they clearly are going to have to acknowledge the game plan we had last night did not work. What do we do now?
Talking to Michael Wilbon, and over in the East, I mean, it's a big game in Boston tonight with LeBron. Last 5 times he was down 0-1 in the East, came back and won that series. For the Celtics, if they go up 2-0, they are 37-0 whenever they're in that position. So outside of, we know LeBron is going to try and just absolutely take over like he did in Game 2 against the Pacers tonight. What other differences would you expect out of that Cleveland team?
Well, I mean, you mentioned it. The other players simply have to play better. I mean, I don't know that, and they got some personnel things. That T. Lue, we've seen Ty Lue in these playoffs have big personnel changes, and he's not afraid to really throw it entirely new, not entirely new, but a dramatically different lineup at you. A guy who might not have played, like Tristan Thompson, through 5 or 6 games of that first series, comes in late in that series and was terrific. He's not afraid to do that, and I would expect to see that. The lineup tinkering. I expect to see the approach be different. LeBron is not going to get both 45 points and 15 assists. That's not going to happen against Boston. As great as he is, and he's to me having the greatest playoff run I think I've ever seen in 40 years of being around this. But Boston they can counter, and they can counter in game. They can counter quickly. They can make these adjustments. We've seen this with both. Yes, the head coach has been getting necessary praise, but he's also got players who can execute these intricate plans, and they are disciplined in what they do, and they are not about saying we'll let LeBron have 50 and the other guys. No, they are using double teams and multiple defenders and schemes that worked in Game 1. I'm interested to see now, are they going to employ the same schemes? Are they going to have a second person quickly confront LeBron when he tries to turn to the basket? They're going to make him give it up and be a passer first. So there's a lot to find out from what it is Boston decides to do, not just Cleveland and their Game 2 adjustments.
Michael Wilbon with us this morning from PTI. He's in Houston for the Western Conference Finals. Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals is tonight, as we were talking about. So I think we all expect LeBron to be more aggressive than he was in Game 1 and probably get closer to what he has been getting in this postseason. But that's not going to be enough, as you alluded to. So who is the next most important Cav if they're going to make this a series against the Celtics? Because, again, if it goes 2-0, history says this season is over. The Celtics have never given up that in a best-of-7 series. So is it Smith? Is it Love, who can do the in-and-out thing and sort of hit some threes from outside, which opens up the inside? Who's the next most important Cav going to be?
It's going to be all three of them. It's going to be Love, Korver, and J.R. Smith. All of them have to play. I mean, the Celtics are not going to be limited in their contributions or the people they depend on. I mean, the one thing we've learned is not only can they throw 5 people at LeBron defensively, starting with Marcus Morris, and they may not even start with him tonight. They may have some plan. You know, Brad Stevens may decide it's going to be somebody else. I would still think it's Morris and Marcus Smart. I mean, they've got so many guys they can do that with, but they've also got the guys who can contribute offensively and carry the team as well. I mean, we've seen this with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Al Horford. They're going to spread this around. They are a terrific team now without the parts we keep talking about them being without. So I think the Cavaliers, I don't think that they're going to win this game with just LeBron having a triple-double and, say, Kevin Love, putting in 26 points. They got to have J.R. Smith. They've got to have Korver. They may have to get an unexpected contribution. Tristan Thompson. I don't know who else could deliver an unexpected contribution. We talk about X factor. They got to have several. And I really just think that I'm one of those people who did pick Boston, and it's too early to pronounce anything or pat myself on the back. But I look at the Celtics as just being a lot better than the Cavaliers, and the lot is greatly reduced because they have LeBron. But to me, the Celtics are a better team, and the Celtics would be a good matchup, a better matchup at this point for Golden State than the Cavaliers are.
Talking to Michael Wilbon of PTI fame, joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And yesterday, Michael, when all our beeps went off on our phone that said breaking news, basically gambling is legal in sports now. Yeah. What was your initial thought?
Well, it's funny. I had started thinking about this a lot when the NBA story came out a few weeks ago. I don't think it was a month, but weeks ago, talking about wanting 1% of those revenues. And just the money that suggests. I mean, and there's so many angles of looking at the money. Mark Cuban was quoted almost immediately as saying that he feels that almost every professional sports franchise in America will be worth at least twice what it is now.
Do you believe? By the way, do you believe that, Michael? Because I
don't know.
That's on a big supposition that they're going to get all that money.
A lot more. It's going to be worth a lot more. We're talking about people allowed to gamble on their mobile phones. The estimates I've seen talk about 32 states, and people might say, well, what about all 50? No, because all 50 states don't even have lotteries. I think it's 43 or 44 states that have lotteries, state lotteries. We're talking about massive revenue. And by the way, if there's a trickle down to college, and there always is, see, that's the area where they're going to have to adopt it. It's going to be interesting state by state. Because then what would prevent a gambler, and they're going to be, oh, my God, just open season on pro sports and doing it legally, what will prevent gamblers from approaching college kids saying, you know what, you're not getting paid anything? I'll give you $50,000 to fill in the blank. What's going to prevent that? Nothing is going to prevent that. So we're looking at, when you look at impact, you're looking at everything from the obvious impact of value of franchises to, look, it's going to change the television game. It's going to change our industry. You think there's not going to be gambling shows immediately? The moment this becomes prevalent in terms of when you get big enough states like New Jersey, and you start moving this around, and I looked at one of the mentions of Illinois, you're talking about big sports markets. So when you do that, it's not going to be just contained to professional sports for very long. So I've been reading things that say, and I'm sure you guys have already talked about this, there are a couple of states that want to be ready to go within weeks. I'm not sure how reasonable that is to expect it to impact, say, the NBA Finals. But also maybe 4 or 5 states before the year is over. And we're talking about revenues that will be created during this calendar year. What's left of it was half done.
Well, look, Jersey says they want to be done by the finals.
By finals. So New Jersey will be up and running. Is that
that's the hope?
Is that the take on that?
Yeah, because they've got the whole thing in place. They want to be ready by the time the finals roll around.
Well, then I mean, other states. I mean, we're talking about a competitive industry here. Right. How long do other states go before they're up and ready for whatever's next? Which is, of course, I don't know how much betting there is on baseball. There's going to be betting on everything, but baseball, the rest of the regular season and playoffs, the NFL season coming up, and again, the college football season. What is it going to mean?
Yeah. Look, it's a brave new world, and we're just trying to figure out exactly what it means.
Entirely.
Yeah.
Entirely new world.
Yeah. As Andrew Brandt once said, there will be lawyers trying to figure this all out at billable hours. Michael, we appreciate you getting up with us this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, you guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.
I miss the time of jingles.
There's not enough jingles.
We need jingles. We need jingles.
Time for a comeback of jingles.
Yeah, we need a jingle comeback.
Yep.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. So the NBA Draft Lottery is tonight. We'll get into our lottery in a second. But did you see this announcement? ESPN Films and Netflix today announced a joint production of The Last Dance, a 10-part documentary series that will chronicle one of the greatest icons and most successful dynasties in sport history, Michael Jordan and the 1990 Chicago Bulls.
I would say that will have a few eyeballs on it.
I'm watching every second.
Yeah. Some good behind-the-scenes stuff. Jordan's bought into this thing.
He's signed off.
I don't mean bought in. Signed off. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Thing.
Yeah,
he's all in with the project.
Yes, he is.
Anchored by more than 500 hours of never-before-seen footage from the team's last championship run in the 1997-98 season, The Last Dance will have the full participation of Jordan and other key figures from the Bulls championship teams. It's maybe because it's our wheelhouse a little bit more, but I am all in on this. All in on this. And I'm curious to see how it's portrayed, and it's going to be out in 2019, because I think part of what Jordan has been mythologized to such a point that it's not real anymore. So I'm hopeful we'll see all of it. But there are certain things that he did that I think I've ever seen anybody do.
Well, I mean, he's the wow guy. It's like for the millennials that have basically grown up with LeBron,
right?
If you haven't seen enough of Jordan, this will really take you inside. And quite honestly, even before that, I mean, when you see old highlights of Magic Johnson and that Showtime Lakers group and what he did with the basketball
against the team they were doing it with the Celtics.
It's really
McHale,
incredible. It's a great chance to relive a little bit, as we mentioned, go behind the scenes some as well, and kind of really get kind of a newfound appreciation for it, or maybe if you haven't, seen a lot of Jordan, a found appreciation. I think everybody understands he's the greatest of all time, but these millennials haven't seen him play.
This is why.
So now you can see and go, okay, yeah, I get it a little bit. And the debate always continues. Who's the greatest? We have who was it just on that said Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in their mind is the greatest of all time.
Ryan Hollins?
I think
it was Ryan.
I think it was. I'm not sure. So you don't know who's up there.
It was Isaiah Thomas.
That's right. It was Isaiah Thomas. So it's just great to see, especially when you go in depth. It's one thing to just see highlights. It's another to go in depth. And I hope it's very in depth to the practices and how tough they were and how tough Jordan was on his teammates at practice and what drives you to be that great of a player.
Yeah, and I hope they have that one clip as my all-time favorite clip. Was from very early in Jordan's career, in 1987. They were playing in Utah. And he goes down and on a switch, he's stuck with John Stockton. And John Stockton's behind him. He just turns and dunks right over him. And a fan yells, "Hey, pick on someone your own size." The very next trip down the floor, they had a center named Mel Turpin, who was 7 feet tall. And Jordan just tomahawk hammered him and throws the dunk down. And as he's running back, he looks to the fan and goes, and then you see the footage. Was he big enough?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it was the greatest. It was the greatest clip of all time. So again, that's coming in 2019, a 10-hour documentary. But the NBA Draft Lottery is tonight.
Yes, it is.
7:30 Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Radio. The Suns have a 25% chance at the top pick. Knicks have a 1.7% chance. And so we are doing our own draft lottery.
Yeah, we are. So what we have is we have a bin full of basically like rubber golf balls here with numbers on them. We've been doing it all morning. We have a 25% chance of drawing a number that gets us a candy bar. That's our first round. That's our first overall pick. If we don't get that, then we get a personal question asked to us. So we'll continue this, and I am going to spin it. Go on, spin it there, Cliff. I have not gotten candy yet, by the way. You and Mike both have gotten candy.
Well, you've gotten candy. You just stole my candy.
Number 19.
19.
Yeah.
Name a player on the Sacramento Kings.
Huh?
Name a player on the Sacramento Kings.
Let me see. Let's see. The Sacramento Kings.
Let's stall as we look up the Google machine.
Sacramento Kings.
Let's stall as we look up the Google machine.
A lot of different players to go there. Oh, Zach Randolph. Yeah. I mean, how do you not know?
How do I not know Zach Randolph after I clicked on Sacramento Kings roster? I have no idea.
Boy, by the way.
That was well done, by the way.
You know, by the way, wow.
What do you got?
Look at I'm seeing some of the players who I'd forget. Buddy Hield. I mean, remember we were talking about him, the shooter coming out of college? To me, he had disappeared. I had no idea. Then again, when you go to Sacramento, I guess that's what you do is you disappear. A little bit.
It's not great. All right, give me the stuff.
Right,
there we go. Maybe I'll get candy again to really tick you up. Play the sounder.
Come on.
Here we go. Lift it up. Look around. Pulls out 21. Yeah, candy again. Candy again. Yeah. And you're still candyless, big boy. You got nothing except the candy you stole from me.
I don't believe you one bit, Stanzik. I don't believe
Stanzik's
you for
face
one
broke up as soon as he
Go, they're all on the sheet. I'll show you the sheet afterwards.
There we go. So I got Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Reese's Pieces, and I got Skittles. And you got nothing except what you stole from me.
Number 31.
We didn't play the sounder.
I don't care.
I don't know who wrote this question, but what age do you feel right now and why?
What age do I feel now and why? I mean, I am 55. I definitely feel better than 55. I'm at the
53.
I'm at the
52.
The weight of my high school when I left high school, 240. So
are you really that low?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. I feel I'm in my 40s. I'm not sure where, but somewhere in my 40s.
Mid to late.
You sound like you're in your 7 to 10 range when you keep asking for candy.
It is ridiculous what's going on.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous.
Let's see if we can keep this going.
Yeah, I mean it's a joke.
If this happens again,
it's an absolute joke.
If this happens again, here we go. Number 9. Is it kidding? Oh, hold on. Maybe it's 6. Is it 6? Nah, it's 9. It's candy. It's definitely 9. It's candy. Just out of curiosity.
Do you want me to hand this sheet to Cliff and he can tell you what number 9 is?
What's number 9? What do we got now? Starburst. Yeah. Woo. It's like
game
Halloween.
Over. It's a dumb game that'll never happen again.
It's like Halloween over here. This is the greatest thing of all time. So, hey, Twitter poll, what should I eat first? The Reese's Pieces, the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, the Skittles, or the Starburst?
Stuck looking up Zach Randolph and Willie Cauley-Stein and
coming up,
De'Aaron Fox.
We'll be talking live with a man in the desert who has a few thoughts about the sports betting world opening up. And throw me some more Snickers. That's after this, Mike.
Delta is here to help people in pursuit of their goals. And with the ease of booking travel on the Fly Delta app, pursuing your goals has never been easier. You'll also get notifications as you go, giving you peace of mind throughout your journey.
The Supreme Court has cleared the way for legalized sports betting.
How did sports change today?
I'm concerned that they're going to turn these places that were normally places for sports entertainment into locations where you can walk in and gamble your life away, and that, as a human being, concerns me.
A lot of people will lose a lot of money. I mean, let's not sex it up too much. This is going to result in many sports fans probably becoming addicted to something and losing a lot of money because of it.
Precisely.
But we're all okay with that.
So I think that's what makes this so revolutionary. There's the stuff that could happen years from now that could really change the game.
Well, at least now it's your constitutional right to gamble all your money away. Sports Center brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. To win in basketball, you got to play great coverage. And with Straight Talk Wireless, you know you're getting great coverage because they use the exact same 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a whole lot less. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
All right, as we continue here on Golic and Wingo, when the news came down yesterday that sports betting was going to be allowed in any state that wants it, we knew there was only one guy we had to talk to.
Yep.
And that's why we are bringing him on the phone now. You are listening live,
yes, you
ladies
are,
and gentlemen, to Brent Musberger. Brent Show, My Guys in the Desert, airs 5 times a week on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, the VSiN Network, available at vsin.com and on Sirius XM Channel 204. Brent, first of all, good morning. And how has the sporting world changed with the ruling yesterday from the Supreme Court?
Well, good morning, guys. Great to be talking to Trey and Mike, one of my favorite morning radio shows, lad. And listen, in 24 hours, I don't know that it's changed much at all, except for the perception. I think anybody who's ever wanted to bet on a sporting event over the last couple of decades that I've been closely around, it's been able to find somebody, whether it's an illegal bookie or a global account in Costa Rica or someplace, or traveling out to Las Vegas. So I think that the exaggerated, I listened to some of those folks on the tape, and
right.
I would be very careful before I would jump to conclusions. There's still a long way to go. And from a business standpoint, the only thing I'm going to point out, guys, because I live in Nevada, I've been around Nevada a lot, I've always thought it should be legalized. This is a high-volume activity with a low margin, okay? So the states in particular should be aware if they think they're going to solve all their problems with the revenue that they will expect to come from legalized sports betting. Now, if we go specifically to the state of New Jersey, I would advise them to move quickly, because if you look at the majority opinion yesterday, Judge Alito said, quote, Congress can regulate sports gambling directly. Now, they did rule that passable is unconstitutional, but already the NFL and the NBA has pointed back toward Congress. So New Jersey should move quickly, because then they will be grandfathered like the state of Nevada was when it came to the 1992 passing of the PASPA law. Hopefully this will save horse racing at Monmouth Park. They're up and ready to go with a William Hill account in there. But I would not be jumping to outrageous conclusions about this changing everything. As far as the leagues are concerned, it will drive interest and advertising dollars back toward the NFL, as the Premier League did with gambling advertisings all over the Premier League. You can find it on some of the uniforms, probably more than half of the league. And it's just another opportunity to increase interest. But as far as jumping to outrageous conclusions, I'm not prepared to do that, guys, if you know what I mean.
Neither are we.
But, Brent, there are so many ways to go here. One of the ways, though, and Adam Silver has talked about it, commissioner of the NBA and the other pro teams as well, getting a little money back, maybe, a buck back per bet or some percentage back. Do you think they'll have enough leverage to get that or work it out with individual states?
They will leverage certain states. My answer to the question is yes, that will happen. I think it's a mistake. They've called it an integrity fee. For years, they have tried to prevent any kind of a gambling, and now, of course, we find out the truth. They want a piece of the action, and nobody in Nevada is about ready to pay them any kind of an integrity fee. If you think of the $100+ million, if you use it as an example out here, the $100+ million that was wagered in the state of Nevada on the Super Bowl alone, and the winnings came to slightly over $1 million. So again, we go back to high volume, low margin. What it does do is drive interest in the NBA and the National Football League and advertising dollars toward them. The lawyers have to get paid. I know they're involved with all of these leagues. And so they're going into the commissioner's office and say, look, we can force these states to pay us an integrity fee. Well, good luck. Some will, some won't. And each of the states now has an opportunity. The other thing that's going to break out, and many of these states, will be the battle internally to see who gets to have the betting kiosks. For example, the state of California, it's already broken out a little bit, as it did in Connecticut, between the Indian casinos and the racetrack operators in the states of California. So many of these states will not get anything done because there's going to be such an internal battle. So that my advice would be to New Jersey, look, you can become the wheel horse in the Northeast. You can have them in place, but you've got to move quickly, get it done, get it open, and they'll be able to wager on the Giants and the Jets before next season begins. And that would be my advice to somebody right now.
Brent Musberger with us from Brent's show, My Guys in the Desert. Airs 5 times a week in the VSIN network, the VSIN network, available at vsin.com and on Sirius XM channel 204. Brent, it seems like a lot of municipalities hoping this gives them the boost, but as you said, it's heavy volume and small return. But is Vegas the one place that may be hurt by this because it might not be the exclusive place where you can go and experience the sports book like no other place before?
Yeah, they're putting on a smiley face about it, but I happen to think that attendance for something like a Super Bowl or March Madness, those are the two biggest sports parties that I've witnessed out here in the state of Nevada, and I think the attendance will go down if California is able to get it legalized, because that's the drive-in crowd. I don't think there's any question but what the people in the Northeast would either drive or catch a short flight down to Atlantic City. It's just more convenient. You save money by going down there, and I don't think there's a problem. People from Philadelphia would certainly drive over there, too. It will, in my opinion, impact the overall volume of wagering on a Super Bowl and March Madness. But I do think that the volume will continue overall with the National Football. It's just part of the everyday living out here in Nevada. Some people bet on sports, some people don't. They didn't pay attention to it, and life goes on as they've done in the UK for decades, and down in Australia where I just visited, and even over in Asia. Anybody who has wanted to bet on a sporting event over the last 50 years has been able to do so, legally or illegally. But you've been able to find somebody who could book your bet. But overall, to answer your question, I do think that the overall handle will decrease slightly here in the state of Nevada. But this is a state that always reinvents itself. They have to go out and get the big conventions in. People like to come in here for parties, but it'll no longer be just a sports party, and that's the way it should be. There should be legal books up and running in the states of New Jersey and the other states that want to do it.
Well, again, we're just beginning the tip of the iceberg here. We'll see how it all plays out. Brent, we're running out of time. We appreciate you being with us and getting up with us this morning, and we look forward to visiting you and hearing you on Sirius XM Channel 204. Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, Brent.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
Yeah, I was like you. The first person I thought of.
The one guy Brent. You want to talk to.
Without question. And guys like Brent and others who are going to be part of the preview shows, pregame shows on all the networks now, because this is coming to. We're going to have to be talking about it without question of where this is going to go. Again, maybe not immediately, but certainly on down the road, it's going to happen, and certainly in some states.
By the way, I just wanted to know you've done a really nice job dealing with the adversities of today when you didn't win any candy. So, Devin, we have something for you.
Okay.
Even though you stole all my... No, I'm going to keep it because you stole my Reese's Pieces. No, I'm just kidding. Here you go. Take it, big boy. Got to keep the big guy happy. Tomorrow, reaction to Cavs-Celtics Game 2 with Amin El-Hassan, who, by the way, is now on our show. Forget the other show. Plus, Bretomology, and one of our newest teammates, NFL analyst and former head coach John Fox will be here as well.
I don't eat this stuff anymore.
Kit Kat away, big boy. No. We'll see you tomorrow.